Hey, welcome back. You're joining me here on my Facebook stream. Take the glasses off because we are in Venice Beach, California. The world's famous Muscle Beach is right there. If I just turn around, you can see the sign just there. If you've been following me on my past few streams, live streams, you'll know that we've had a few issues with live streams, connection, sound. All I can say is we're trying to work on it. I'm working with Facebook. Trying to get you out of the house. I know the light's probably a little bit too dark here, but I wanted to do something more than just be in the house and actually come out to some of the great locations around here. So with the original Muscle Beach and then the new Muscle Beach just down the boardwalk here, I thought this was a perfect setting. You can see the Santa Monica Pier just behind me over there. So beautiful setting here. And what better place than to talk about fitness, bodybuilding, nutrition, talking about today in particular carb cycling or refeeding. So this was a topic that a lot of people were asking about when I talked about nutrition over the past couple of weeks, and I wanted to spend the next 15 minutes talking more about my thoughts, my experiences with carb cycling, carb manipulation and carb loading into the benefits to this, how to kind of go about doing it, and really what it all is about and how it can possibly work for you. So the first thing, I can see everyone kind of logging in and viewing, so I'll keep talking for a little bit, keep posting your questions. I can see them coming up on the screen here, so I'll answer them kind of in between segments, and also once I'm at the end kind of scroll through. But for this particular stream, you know, if you're new to this, welcome first of all. Shout out to everyone else watching around the world. We do this Monday, Wednesday and Friday, currently at about 11 a.m. my time here in Los Angeles, Pacific Standard Time. So if you are having to stay up super late, or you're watching this after it's streamed live and you're in a completely different country, you can't join in stream, just message me. You can DM me, you can post on a comment, and let me know the kind of country you're in. I'll try and do it more at an appropriate time frame, at least one of these days of the weeks. Anyway, carb cycling, refeed days, carb loading, why, how, all of these questions. I got my book here. It's called Ultra Lean. I'm not going to go on too much about it, but everything that I talk about with nutrition, carb cycling, kind of a 12-week nutritional prep is in here. If you want to find out more, I'll post the link down below after the video. Head over to Rob Rich's Fitness or Rob Rich's shop. But anyway, one of the chapters in here is, of course, carb cycling. And just to give you a kind of a run through of what this is, I see a few of you, to Nugan, mentioning about the book. If you've ordered the ebook before and you've had a couple of issues, bear with me. I'm going to get on with them today. It's to do with the transaction keys. We'll get new ones fired out to you. So we'll follow up absolutely today with you on those. As far as carb cycling goes and why and how, let me kind of give you a short backstory. So the way I would do my competition prep, get ready for a competition, and I'm in good shape at the moment, but I'm not like that 3-4% body fat. I'm probably about 8 or 9, which is fine for where I'm at the moment. The reason I take 12 weeks is because I do everything gradually. I don't put my body into a state of alert, a big shock. I want to gradually make these adjustments so that my body will adapt. I can keep that muscular fullness, the size, the strength, and also kind of coax my body into giving up a little bit more body fat over the course of those 12 weeks, which is really how many of us models, competitors, just fitness enthusiasts like myself, which is more of what I identify myself with more than anything else, competitor, model, all of that. It's just, I love fitness. The reason we take that long is, for me, it's about that gradual descent. And how I work it out, I've spoken before in past videos, which are all on my playlist on Facebook. Just go to, you're on it now, obviously, Rob Rich's Fitness /videos on Facebook. You can see all of the past ones. I talk a lot about my nutrition and how I create, like, for me, the perfect meal plan, my macros, which is about 15 calories per pound of body weight, so 15 times 180. Protein, carbs, and fats. Typically, I start off at about a 40-40-20 split. 40% of that comes from protein, 40% from carbs, 20% from fats. And this is what I follow for what I basically call my baseline diet. So for 4 weeks, at least 3 to 4 weeks, I'll follow that macro split. Typically, I'll have that amount of calories, somewhere around 2,700, 2,800 calories a day. I don't take into account cardio, weight training, all of that. I just keep it at a set amount, and look back at those videos to find out more about that. So for these 4 weeks, I'm maintaining pretty much a completely standard intake of carbohydrates. And what I mean by that is I'm not changing the amount of carbs going in each day. I'm not having refeed days, just for pretty much 30 days straight at set meals, at set times, within certain food groups. You know, I'll change around my meals a little bit, but my amount of carbohydrates for those meals and those days are pretty much like to the gram each day for the month. Now what this allows me to do is it allows my body to become fully accustomed and get used to that very set, very particular intake. So when I do start making some changes, and by changes I don't mean dropping my carbs out one day or having an influx of carbs. And influx is it's a key word here, so I'm going to keep bringing that up. Fluctuations. I want to minimize fluctuations, and I want to get my body used to a very certain amount of carbohydrates. Same with protein and fats, but this one we're just talking about carbs, so that when I do make those adjustments, which might just be typically an 8 or 15% decrease every week thereafter. So for the first 4 weeks, it's this level. Let's call it 270 grams. Then from weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm making these small adjustments every week, maybe every 3 to 5 days, just taking 8% off. So about 270 grams, take off 8%, follow that for 3, 4, 5 more days, take off 8% again. So I make these small adjustments like that. Then I get to 8 weeks into my diet, and my body has been on a pretty consistent tight diet for at least 2 months. So obviously I'll have seen some changes ideally, but you know, my body will lean out a lot and I look good, but I don't feel like I'm as good as I can be for stage or photo shoot, or just really to get to my best. So how do I go about doing this? If I keep dropping my carbs, if I keep upping my cardio, I'm gonna get to this point, you know, on this scale where I'm doing cardio all day long, or I've dropped my calories down too much, or my carbs really low, to the point where my body is going into that kind of shock, that state of alert, in the sense that I'm not able to maintain that current training in the gym with that strength. My muscle fullness starts to soften up a little bit. I become a little bit more sinewy. So the way I keep muscular fullness, keep my size, and also energy, I'll then start to carb cycle for those, I guess, that third stage, weeks 8, 9, and 10, or 9, 10, and 11 rather. Final week is peak week. I'll touch upon that, but that is a whole nother topic that if you guys want me to talk more about, I'll do on Wednesday. So this carb cycling thing really allows me to manipulate my carbohydrates for a certain amount of time, followed by a refeed day, an increase in carbohydrates. And the reason why many of us do this, especially bodybuilders, is for those 3, 4, even 5 days where they reduce their carbohydrates, I don't like using this word, but it kind of forces the body into, towards the end of that period, a time where it's going to use up more of its body fat as fuel. But if you continue doing that, this is where things like the Atkins diet kind of fall short, is for an extended period of time, if the body doesn't have energy, sugar rather, through this external, like our nutrition, it may, or it does, start to leach energy, amino acids, like nutrients, from elsewhere, and essentially start to catabolize the muscle. So in a very broad, basic understanding, if you carb cycle for 2 or 3 days, then you carb load, and I'll get to the amounts and how you work that out soon. You're basically putting your body into a false sense of starvation, so that on those final afternoon of that third day, really, the body will give up more body fat available as fuel. But if you go past that point, you're running the risk of the body starting to catabolize muscle, because here's how I think of it. When you were a caveman and you, like 3, 4, 5, 10,000 years ago, you were out searching and you didn't have any food for days, or maybe just you're eating, foraging for leaves and so on, your body will allow body fat to be used as a survival fuel. So you can use that survival fuel for so long, but the body will come to a point where if you haven't eaten or restocked that glycogen level, which is really what this whole carb cycling is about, your body will basically say, all right, we're not having food, we're carrying all of this muscle which is highly metabolic. You know, the amount of muscle requires that much more fuel, that much more energy from our bodies to maintain. So the body essentially switches over and says, all right, we're done with giving up our survival fuel. We're going to run on low. When we run out of body fat, if we don't eat, we have no survival fuel. So we're instead going to start to make muscle, which is very energy, it needs a lot of energy, nutrients to be able to sustain. It's much more metabolically active than body fat. So the body will start to, at the very least, make it very hard for you to maintain muscle size. So when we're talking about physique, bodybuilding, you know, fitness in that sense, we obviously want to focus more on body fat loss and keep that muscular fullness and size. So the way we do this is to cycle through a lesser carbohydrate amount followed by a restocking to, again, not trick the body, but to kind of lull the body back into this, I'm using the wrong words here, but false sense of, look, we're not starving. You're going to use up a little bit more body fat. We're going to trick you on those 3rd and 4th days to giving up more body fat. But just before you start to kind of freak out and switch over to wasting muscle, we're gonna be kind to you. We're gonna give you a bunch of carbohydrates back. And what's gonna happen is, you might be thinking, well, if I'm dieting, I'm extremely lean, I'm only weeks away from a competition, how is like taking in 400 or 500 grams, or it's a little bit too extreme, that's more for the peak week, but taking in excess carbohydrates gonna help me? Reason is simple. Look, if you think of like a water balloon, or just a big bowl filled with water, and that's your muscle glycogen. For the first day, even if you don't have much carbohydrates, and we're only reducing it by 20%, 30, that kind of percent, so not half or dropping it right down, you're gonna be diminishing, like picture a bowl here, or a water bottle, muscle cell really. And here we go. This is glycogen in here, muscular energy. Each day we're gonna continue to use up a little bit. So imagine it being up here. Day 1, it comes down. Day 2. By day 3, body started to really run low on muscular energy, muscle glycogen. So it's starting to use body fat as its preferred fuel source. Now, what happens if this runs too low? The body has no glycogen left in its muscle cell. So, muscle cell's empty, the body's got no kind of immediate energy left, its survival fuel is being used up, so it's gonna start to switch over to muscle mass. So what we do is we're gonna get the body down to pretty low amounts. So 3 days, 3 days on a low carb intake. By day 4, we're gonna add carbs back in. I hadn't planned on actually showing you this, but this is our carb refeed, glycogen. This water represents glycogen, carbs. We're gonna restock it back up. Now, because the muscle is depleted, it can actually hold a little bit more. Spilled some valuable glycogen there. It can actually hold more temporarily than it used to. Now, this comes in a lot when we talk about peak week and dropping our carbohydrates right down and carb loading. Carb loading is different from carb cycling because it kind of relies on really diminished muscle glycogen, right down from 150 grams down to like 30, down to practically 0, followed by a 2 or 3 carb update. That's different from what I'm talking about, and we'll cover that on Wednesday or another day. So now we've kind of restocked our glycogen levels, and you can do this for 1 or 2 days. Suddenly the body doesn't have a need or an urgency to start to strip away, or at least diminish our ability to maintain muscle fullness. So the cycle continues. How I work it out is Monday through to Friday, and I mentioned this in my book, Ultra Lean, just because it's a very easy way to adapt without having to change up your carb update. Very easy way is Monday through to Friday, simply drop your carbohydrates by 33%. What do I mean by that? Go back to your baseline. So even if after those weeks 5, 6, and 7 and 8, you've been dropping your carbs down, whatever amount that you've been following for the last few days, let's say 150 grams, let's say 200 grams, just for an easy figure. You had 200 grams of carbs, 33% less of that. So 33% of 100 is 33 grams, so that's 66 grams. So you're gonna take it down to basically 134 grams. So Monday through to Friday, you're simply gonna drop 33% off your regular carb intake. So now you're having 132, 134 grams thereabouts. It's hardly a complete drop down. You're barely gonna miss it. In fact, you look at it this way, for every carb meal that you have, think of it as like a third of it off. If you have 3 big tablespoons of brown rice, you're only going to have 2 big tablespoons of brown rice per meal. It's not a big drop, and that's a really easy way of thinking it. If you don't want to work out the numbers, just look at it as a portion size and imagine having a third less, roughly, something like that. Then on Saturday and Sunday, this is where I have my carb up day, or days. Again, it's just an easier, modified version of a 3-day, 4-day, which is slightly different. And unless you're really getting into a competition, which if you are, feel free to direct message me, you can find out more about that. It's just a much easier way of fitting it into your lifestyle. Days 4 and 5, so Saturday and Sunday, 6 and 7 technically, we're gonna bump our carbs up 20% back up from the average. So the average, if you remember, was 200. So for the previous week, we've been following 200 grams a day. Then the next week, this new stage of carb cycling, we're gonna drop it down 33%. So now we're from 200 down to about 134 for 5 days. So it goes like this. Now Saturday and Sunday, we're gonna go back to our 200, so 100%, and add 20% on. So 240 grams. Really easy way of doing it. 5 days, 33% less than your regular intake, providing you've had at least 3 to 4 weeks of a set intake. And then on the weekend, or your carb up day, 20% more than your baseline. So if our baseline was, we just called it 200, 136 for 5 days, then 240 on Saturday and Sunday. Not a huge amount, you're not like getting a lot of carbs, but one thing you can really do is on those Saturday mornings, especially on that Saturday morning when your carb glycogen amounts has depleted a lot in the muscle cell, that then allows you, if you want to kind of have a little bit more, let's call it bad carbs in. If you want a bagel, pancake, I used to have half a bagel with jam, preservative, America, English, different terms, but half a bagel, jam, even some dried apricots and dates. I'd work out the numbers and fit it in, but that would fit into my diet. I wouldn't look at it quite as much as the flexible dieting or this, if it fits your macros. I mean, if you want to work it that way, sure. This is just, my body has more of a need to get the simpler sugars in, especially on the first few meals. So if you want to look at it this way, hey Rob, how can I incorporate some like unhealthy foods into my diet? I crave bagels, muffins, pancakes. Get them in on your higher carb days, on your carb cycling. Weekends if you're on, or every 4th day, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday lower, Thursday high, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday back lower again. You can work it that way. This week thing is just an easier thing to fit in. So yeah, there we go. That's basically carb cycling. You can do this 3 or 4 times. I don't particularly follow it for much longer than a 2 or 3 week period, mainly because I only use it during this kind of competition prep, and then week 4, or that final week, so week 12 actually, in terms of that 12-week prep, is where I'll do my full carb depletion and carb loading. A little bit different, I'll talk more about that Wednesday. I can see problem with us streaming live without Wi-Fi is that we don't always get the questions posting up. So I can see a lot of the questions here, but until I'm back in the house with Wi-Fi, it's going to be hard to really connect them. So I'm going to finish off in the last few minutes just giving you a few more words of motivation, food for thought if you like, no pun intended, towards carb cycling. So simple steps. 1, it's a great way to allow your body to kind of break through that plateau if you like. If you've been dieting for a while and you find that you're unable to shift any more body fat or lower your body weight, carb cycling may be a great method for you to incorporate if done correctly. A lot of people have different views on this. This is just the way I've learned about it, used it, experienced it, and had great experience with it. Whatever it is that you're eating, make it a regular for at least 3 or 4 weeks. Get your body into this regular routine. So even if you don't do the carb manipulation, you just want to eat pretty typically. Even if that means not weighing it out, but just following the same kind of foods with the same kind of amounts for at least 3 or 4 weeks, a month. The following month, then you primed your body to be able to start to notice these slight changes. So just that 33%, that slight drop in muscle glycogen or your carb intake, followed by a higher 20%, 33% and 20% from your baseline, so 200 33% less for 3 to 5 days, and then 20% up from that baseline. So 200 is now 240 for that 4th day, or at least every weekend. That's how I do it. You can carb cycle 3 days low, 1 day high, or you can carb cycle in a broad sense from Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday allow more carbs. And if you want, get the higher, faster acting, high glycemic carbs, still within your numbers, but earlier on. Definitely Saturday morning. So for me, it might be a leg workout. I get some pancakes in, still fits within my numbers. And to a lesser degree, think about your carb intake for the day. You can kind of squash it down now more towards certainly meals 1 and 2 with those high, maybe 50-60% of your carbs, 240 grams of carbs. You might want to get 100 grams of carbs in for meal 1, 50-60 grams for meal 2, maybe the remainder for meal 3, or spread them out a little bit. And the same again for Sunday. That's a very broad sense of how to carb cycle, but effectively that's how it's worked for me. And maybe if I'm getting ready for a photo shoot, or just want to film another video for you guys and be in better shape to either motivate, inspire, or at the very least be able to show muscle fibers and how they're kind of better worked on certain exercises, I will turn to that. All right, that's 20 minutes of pretty much non-stop talking. Sorry the app isn't allowing me to really see, or I can't see any new questions posted on here, so I'm sure you guys have been posting them. I'll try and read through a lot of them and cover them more in my next video when we've got Wi-Fi back at the house. We'll talk more about that carb depleting and carb loading. Final thing I want to show you guys really is just this awesome, just where we are. So we've got Santa Monica Pier over there. We've got Muscle Beach here. We've got the rings over there. This is where a lot of people are doing all of their calisthenics, plyometrics. The beach, like, look at this gorgeous blue sky. You can tell from the paleness and the whiteness of my skin that I'm not out in the sun too much. I should be. I just in the gym, back home. It's got to get a spray tan. That's why we all spray tan, because most of us don't have the luxury or can afford the time to be out in the sun for that long. Listen, I can see from the views that this is one of the biggest views that we've had. I'm gonna end it here just to keep it sweet and short. Thank you for watching. I'll be back Wednesday and Friday at the same time. We'll keep talking about nutrition. It seems to work better and be more fluid than in the gym, although when we've got that Wi-Fi signal figured out, we'll try and get it back in the gym, Gold's Gym or another gym. All of this information is in my book, Ultra Lean. I'll post a link on the comments right below straight after. And Rob Richards Fitness is my website. All blogs about how to work out, calculate your macros. So find out more about that. And yeah, on that note, I gotta go get my hair cut, tidy things up, so I can keep looking sharp for more of these videos and photos. So thank you again for watching. Wednesday, 11 a.m. So about 47 hours from now, I'll bring you back in the house. We'll have Wi-Fi. We'll talk more about carb loading. Keep your questions coming. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have an awesome workout. And from me here at Muscle Beach, it wouldn't be. We've got Muscle Beach right there. Do a little pose. Peaks on that. Bye guys. Take care. Bye.